if you leave town to go visit someone or vacation or whatever, and somebody breaks into your house and they have a fake lease in their hand and they call a locksmith out and they get the locks changed and they fix the window.
Right.
They're in there living and you come back and your key doesn't work and they're in there with the fake lease. You're out of your house.
Right. Right.
Now, even though you have a mortgage on it, you've got the title filed. Are you not entitled to the peaceable possession of your property?
Well, I mean, possession is part of owning property, and it's a piece of ownership of property that you can give away to others, and that's routinely done. Just like you can give away the mineral rights to real estate to a production, an oil production company. It's the same thing. And law enforcement in these situations just have no way of knowing who's telling the truth.
Homeowners are never presumed the resident, but a tenant always is.
Right. So you could be an absent owner. You could own 50 houses and they say you're not but if you're a tenant and you have a tenant lease, then they presume that you're there.
Well, and I think also it's who's in current possession of the property. That's going to have a big impact on that analysis.
Well, Flash, if you went to the house and somebody was there and the door was open and you went in and you have a notarized lease from the legitimate owner, who wins in that situation?
I do, and I have been winning over and over. Basically, I do go through a process to where I'll spend the first 5 days basically doing surveillance and seeing if they leave and go to the store or go to work. But I visit law enforcement ahead of time. I give them my list of procedures. I have full backing. I have judges. I have law enforcement. Everyone is supporting me at this point. And I show up with a lease in hand. I show up. If they call law enforcement and a 911 calls in, they already know. They've already have it listed that Flash Shelton is there, that the squatter hunters are there, and they show up and ask how they can help me. So they notify them that I have a lease and I have every right to be in the property, and they have to either give me keys or I can change the locks. What ends up happening is now I'm not kicking them out at this point. What I'm doing is I'm moving in with them and saying, look, you can stay, but I'm moving in, I'm putting cameras up in every room but your bedroom and the bathroom, and I'm going to turn this house into a reality show, and I'm going to expose you to the world.
And what's the typical response?
Well, they're entitled. They feel like they own the home. They feel like the home is there. They're narcissistic. They just can't believe it. It's arguing. It's yelling at police. It's telling them that they want a supervisor because they absolutely just aren't prepared for it. And it's something that they weren't expecting. It's never a good conversation. They want to sit there and tell me how they have rights. And I explain to them, yeah, you do. You have rights. You have right to civil process. Absolutely. And I'm not taking that away from you. But I am a leaseholder and I have rights as well. And I'm going to take over this house.
How long has somebody stuck it out?
It's usually, a week to 2.
Really? There have been people that have stayed for 2 weeks?
Only because, they'll barricade themselves in the bedroom and maybe it takes them that long to find another house to squat in.
So in that 2 weeks, do you stay in the house?
Not 100%. I'd rather, live with my teenagers.
Yeah. So once you move in, do you put belongings in the house?
Yeah. A lot of times that's how squatters, I had a situation in Hollywood Hills where, the guy walks in with a backpack of clothes to rent a room and tells the lady that he's not leaving. And she says, well, I'll call the police. And by the time they get there, he just unloaded his backpack into the closet. And there you go. I live here. So I figure if it works for them, it'll work for me.
How often do you have to go back? Do you go in once a day or once every few days?
Oh, every day. It's not just me. So I have a crew of people. And so we make sure that we're a constant, and we're watching cameras. So, but usually it doesn't even get to that. Usually it's just the threat alone, just the influence, the news media I get, the subscribers, the YouTube, just the threat saying, look, if you leave now peacefully, I may not, when I share this story, I may not show your face or your name or whatever. Just the threat sometimes works. And I would say most of the time, actually, it's rare that I actually have to move in with somebody.
Has anybody gotten violent with you?
No, not at all. We look, we're big guys with, full tactical gear, and we look like, people think we look like SWAT, and so it's intimidating. The other thing is there's no communication prior. We are just absolutely blindsiding them. So they're not prepared. And you had asked about damage to my mom's house. One of the things that, squatters do is they damage property, but they typically damage property when they know that they're going to have to leave. That's when they start destroying it. It's like that whole old saying of, if I can't have you, no one else can.
Right.
So I've also been, since we're quick, swift, and with no notice, there hasn't been any damage to properties either.
Yeah, because they don't know you're coming. Is there any recourse at all? Of course, the squatters don't have any money, Mark, or they wouldn't be squatting.
Right. And you don't have a contractual relationship with them. I mean, so that complicates things a little bit. But then there's the other question. Do you even know what their names are? Do you really know who you're dealing with? And until there's an arrest, you probably won't. So you won't know who to sue. And then even if you do know who to sue, people doing this sort of thing, how do you get a process server to find them? That's another problem.
What's a judgment worth?
Depends on the state. I know I'm originally from Virginia, and when I did collections out there, you could garnish people's paychecks. We can't do that in Texas. Most of the time, I'm advising my clients with money judgments against tenants not to even bother. You're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, because they're judgment proof.
Right.
I mean, they got no assets, probably no job.
Right.
What I have found is that we've got a lot of career squatters that have a lot of money. They've got nice cars. One of my last videos, she's got a brand new Jeep. I'm able to get their information because I have law enforcement helping me. But they have jobs. They have regular jobs. These people have just figured out the fact that, you got to remember, they're looking at a society that says you can live rent free. And so it's just a mentality. I mean, a lot of these people have money. They're not homeless people. I haven't run across, when I run into a homeless situation, I help them, help relocate them, help them with resources. But the majority I have dealt with are all just narcissistic, entitled people that just can sleep at night knowing that they're hurting somebody else. And it's not because of money.
Seriously, you're talking about people that have cars and sometimes white-collar jobs?
I have a squatter in Culver City, California, that climbs in and out of a window because she truly believes that she is going to own this 88-year-old woman's house. She has $138,000 in her bank account.
Really? Why is she climbing in and out of the window?
Because she doesn't have access to the main house. So she climbs in and out of a bedroom window. She was posing as a caregiver, and she wasn't caregiving. And she was fired. And the company said, well, she no longer works for us, but we can't help you get her out of your house. So we're working with this elderly woman, trying to relocate her. It's one of the GoFundMes that I started to help elderly people that don't have resources. A lot of people think that just because you own a home, you're rich, but that's not the case. So, and this is a woman that totally just absolutely feels entitled and thinks that that house is going to be hers. So she is willing to live under the worst circumstances just to continue to maintain possession of the property.
And one thing that's also kind of scary about this situation, I'm starting to see things on the internet where you have these types of tenants who are training others how to do this, how to game the system, how to take advantage, how to do things like file affidavits of indigence so you don't even have to pay filing fees. It's a problem.